Hello everybody and welcome back to the farm. Well, true to my word, I've done everything I could possibly do this winter to avoid being outside in the cold, snowy weather. It's mid-March and we should be expecting spring, but instead we're bracing for winter storm after winter storm. But I did make it out to the farm today just to check on things, and thankfully everything is pretty much how I left it in the fall. Unfortunately, in the lower level of the barn here, it hasn't fixed itself. I still need to come in and fix all of this foundation work. So over the winter, I've been accumulating some hardware and tools and equipment, and one of the pieces I'm still looking for is a gas-powered concrete mixer. This foundation is going to take a lot of Type N mortar to fix up, and I need something that can do that in bulk, and it seems like a gas-powered mixer is the way to go. But in this video, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of stuff that I've been accumulating since about October in preparation for fixing up a lot of the areas of this farm over the spring and summer of this year. So in a previous video, I had shown you that I purchased a tractor. I got a piece of equipment that was sized properly for the job that needed to be done. And over the fall, I made a purchase on Amazon, which is a set of forks that clamp onto the bucket. Some people call these root rakes, some people call them dirt forks. For this tractor, I also have a back blade, which is going to come in handy, and one of the other purchases I've made was a York rake. Now, it's in fairly good condition. It needs a little bit of welding, but what's in perfect condition is the tiller, which is probably going to be the workhorse of this tractor this year. There's a lot of tilling and a lot of cleanup, but between the York rake, the back blade, the front forks, I should be able to clean things up well in preparation for the massive amount of planting that I want to take place on the farm this summer. These plants are coming along amazing. In the last video, you saw me build this plant stand, this growing station, and what I've been doing is transplanting the plants and then planting more seeds every few weeks, and things are going exceptionally well. While I have lots of plans for this coming year, it's not lost on me that there is a lot of field work to do, and a couple pieces of equipment that I have not yet found a reasonable price on to purchase is a disc tiller that pulls behind the tractor, as well as a brush hog to maintain all of the different paths of my farm. I'm still looking though. One thing I was able to find late in the fall, however, is this really nice equipment trailer. This thing is 20 feet long and it was in excellent shape. All of the lights were redone, the tires were relatively new, all the metalwork was fairly solid. There's a few dents on the fenders, but it's a great platform upon which I can create some additional enhancements. And one of those enhancements is I want to add a large toolbox, a winch, a battery box, and I have to do some work to these ramps. This trailer is designed for heavy equipment, and when heavy equipment pulls up onto the ramp, it causes the trailer to squat and it gives you a decent approach angle. But this approach angle is much too great for my little tractor, so I need to build a set of ramp extensions. Now this is going to be a project that I have to tackle once the nice weather hits, but in preparation for it, I picked up a nice multi-process welder from Harbor Freight. This does MIG, TIG, and stick. And then I picked up this nice welding cart off of Amazon. I still have to get a bottle of gas for back here for the MIG welding that I have to do, but overall this is a really nice welder and it was on sale, so I couldn't pass it up. I also purchased a welding table, and in addition to the welding table, I purchased the usual arrow-shaped welding magnets. I do have a couple other 110 welders. They're buzz boxes, but they're just not strong enough for what I need. But one of the other purchases I made over this winter is a plasma cutter. This was always something that I wanted to get, and I figured with the amount of heavy metal equipment that I now have, this will definitely come in handy for cutting metal and working on the various projects that I have to work on, including the trailer and many other things. Now, the welder, the plasma cutter, these things require about a 60 amp, 200 and something volt service. So I purchased all of the pieces necessary to create a 208 drop in my garage. I ran a power line and put a sub panel in my garage a few years back. It has a 100 amp breaker at the main box, so it should be just fine. In preparation for that trailer build, I also picked up a very nice winch and a winch holder from Harbor Freight. And the intent is to place these right about by the tongue area of the trailer so that I could pull stuff up onto the trailer. It seems like I'm dealing with heavier and heavier equipment by the month here, so I figured this would be a very nice way to do it. I also purchased this big toolbox, which is going to be placed on the front of the trailer, more than big enough to hold a battery, the winch, cables, the controller, all the necessary stuff. I also have a much smaller trailer, and I figured I'd duplicate this whole setup on a smaller scale. I bought a couple 2-inch receiver tubes, a much smaller winch, a battery box, and then I also purchased a 2-inch receiver holder for the smaller winch. And I'm going to do this exact same thing on both of the trailers, just at 2 different scales. This seems like a very decent way to pull lawnmowers and all the other stuff that I need to pull up on the trailer. Now, in the middle of my field, I have this massive pile of twigs and sticks and trees, and I need to get this out of this area before I could do any planting. So in preparation for that, I purchased a chipper. This is a fairly powerful unit. It could handle branches up to 3 inches in diameter, and of course all of these sticks and brush you could feed into it. In addition to this, I also purchased a pole saw, a gas-powered pole saw. I looked at all the big box stores and I ended up getting this one off of Amazon. It's a no-name brand, but it was very highly rated and the price was decent. So pairing that with my existing Echo chainsaw, and I think I'll be in business. Now, the one thing I still have left to find is a gas-powered log splitter to handle all the remains of that project. Now, speaking of projects, let's talk about the groundworks that are planned for this coming year. So I have a field, obviously we all know that, but there's other areas of the farm, such as behind the barns and to the side of the barn. And the first thing I need to do is till and clear all of that area of sticks and debris. Then I'd like to plant grass as a nice perimeter framing the entire property. I want 2 planting fields. And then I want to lay stone for a driveway and stone for a yard behind the barn. I also need to lay stone for the access road. Once all that's done, or in parallel, I also need to plant the areas of the field for vegetation and for vegetables. Now, to help prep some of the ground, I purchased a pretty heavy ground roller. This one is just under 1,000 pounds when filled with water. I figured this would be a good thing to pull behind the tractor and finish level some of the area once I clear it of sticks and debris. Now, to help with the stonework, I also purchased a plate compactor. This thing is ridiculously heavy. It took 3 people to get this up into my truck and my tractor to get it off of the truck. So I figured this would be good for leveling and final compacting all of the areas where there's stone, such as the driveway and the road and the yard behind the barn. So these are just 2 of the pieces of equipment that are planned to help manage that area. I also picked up one of these Rust-Oleum marking wands so I could more easily delineate the areas that I need to work on. It'll just be an efficient way to mark the ground. Now, going back to the plan to plant some crops. Once the crops are planted, I want to add 2 additional features to the property. 2 little trailers. There's icons of them at the top and at the bottom of this picture. So to prepare for at least one of these projects, I've purchased a few additional things. I purchased a very small but very heavy axle trailer. This is roughly a 4x6 trailer with 2,500 pound axles, and I'm going to build a watering trailer. So in addition to purchasing this trailer, which I have to fix up and modify, I also purchased one of these water totes. These things are for sale everywhere, and I picked it up for a good price, and I'm going to permanently mount it onto the trailer. But in addition to the water tote and the trailer, I need a couple other things. I purchased a solar panel, 100-watt solar panel with a battery, and I also purchased a 12-volt water pump. So the combination of all of these things put together will give me a nice watering trailer. Now, one other trailer that I'd like to find somewhere is a retro or a vintage truck bed trailer. Now, I've seen these trailers turned into some really cool things. And since I'm going to be planting plants, I figured that I could modify one of these trailers and turn it into a really cool looking roadside farm stand, much like the pictures you see on the screen in front of you. These things are all over social media, and I've seen some of them in real life, and they look really cool. And I figured that this would be a very nice aesthetic to go along with the manicured hobby farm look that I'm going for with this property. Now, this is kind of a long-term project, but if I could find one in the next few months, I'm going to pick it up. Another thing that I was looking for was a very low-profile toolbox, and I found one. This thing is about 4.5 inches tall by about 20 inches deep, and this is satisfactory to fit right in this single spot in my truck bed and to hold a lot of the tools and stuff that's occupying the back seat of my truck. This isn't giant, it's not going to fit everything, but it's going to fit certain things that I have identified. Now, much like everything that I've purchased, it's not perfect, and I'm going to have to figure out a way to mount it, and there's a couple little things that I need to figure out and fix up, but overall this was perfect for what I was looking for, and I looked for several months before I found one of these for sale nearby. I was very happy to get this. Now onward, moving over through the rest of the property, I am going to have to pick up some driveway fabric because one of the projects that I want to do is drop some stone in this side access road. This needs to be filled a little bit, and I have to get DEC approval. But one thing I don't need DEC approval for is to build a bridge. And the bridge is going to look roughly like what you see on the screen in front of you. It's just going to be a 2x6 construct. One of the ultra-high priority projects this year is going to be fixing up this garage. I need a place to store stuff securely, and this garage is going to need to be rehabbed. It's going to need to be sturdied and structurally stabilized. It's going to need a new roof and siding and garage doors, a side access door, and these are all things that I've been planning through the winter. In fact, in a previous video, which you'll see in just a second, I did a little rendering of what it would look like. The garage looks like it's in horrible shape, but inside the bones are actually decent. So there's just a few targeted things that need to be fixed with this. Most of it is cosmetic. The roof does have a lot of leaks, so that's going to have to be patched, but overall I'm hoping to go for this look. It's decent and it'll last a long time. Moving to the side of the property where my pond is, the land bridge is still looking good. We cleaned this up earlier in the winter. The debris is still where it needs to be. The beavers have not dammed up the water flows, and water is still moving as it should. Now, come spring or summer, I do want to lay gravel and some of that driveway fabric here, so I do need to cut down some of these stumps and just manicure the area so that it's usable year-round. Still have a couple trees to cut also. So as you can see, there's a lot of work to be done this coming summer. One of the things that I was toying with that I'd like to do is fix the curb appeal of this barn. And over the winter I've grabbed some paint samples from Lowe's and I've matched up a color, and what I'd like to do is rent a lift and just make a quick pass around the barn with my paint sprayer and get some color on it. There's a lot to do. I know, and maybe all of this stuff is not going to get done this year, but I like to go into things with a plan, and through the use of Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, for the past 5 months I've been making some very targeted purchases of equipment that I'll need to use this year to facilitate some of the projects that I have planned. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you're looking forward to a lot more, because as the nice weather hits, things are going to ramp up really quickly. I can't wait for the snow to be gone and to actually get outside and start working at the farm. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.